UConn suffers their first loss of the season yesterday. They fall to Xavier, the Musketeers, scalding hot, winners of 8 in a row. But Connecticut falls late in the game, in the closing stretch. Dan Hurley gets teed up. It's a costly technical foul in what was a one-possession game before he gets whistled for it. This is a result of a lot of things that we've seen here in not just this season, but recent years. Hurley got ejected last year when UConn hosts Villanova, and he's been teed up already a couple of times this season. A lot of post-game banter about this. Fans saying if an official has a bias against a coach, they shouldn't be officiating the game in the first place. There's the class of people that are bringing up the fact that, look, whether you like it or not, Dan Hurley wrote on his wrist, coach your team. Coach your team. He wrote that on his wrist in Portland. Does that not sum up a lot?
It wasn't
the head coach
Sharpie.
Himself is. Yeah, exactly. Guys, what do you make of this situation? Is it Hurley having to look himself in the mirror? Is it the officials, Patrick Young? What do you make of a technical foul late against Xavier, and now Hurley getting teed up several times this season?
Well, I have to rely on the expert opinion of you guys that know a little bit more history than I do. But just from my own personal understanding, Dan Hurley has just a history that has put him in a place where you're just known for giving the refs and just going too far, and having this opportunity with this team, and hats off to him for toning things down, maintaining that level of intensity, but striving to, coaches, they all play the referees. They all, at some level, strive to do what they can to make sure their voice is being heard. But you go back and you look at this game and the disparity on free throws. I can understand the frustration. 9 free throws for UConn, 28 for Xavier. But hats off to Xavier, really good team. They are absolutely a tournament team, and in my opinion, they're possibly a Sweet 16 team with the way that they get the ball up and knock shots down and defend as well. But yeah, I mean, I've never been in the position of being a head coach and having to deal with referees on that side. As a player, I would try to do my best to stay away from. But you can't be the reason to cost your team a game.
You can't put yourself in that position.
You cannot.
You absolutely can't. It was a one possession game at the time. There were two minutes and change left, something like that. Fanta, like, you can't do that at the end of the game. Now, what he said or didn't say, I really like Hurley. I like him as a human. I understand he's got a screw loose when it comes to coaching, and that's what makes him enjoyable.
He didn't say, thank you guys. You're doing such a great job today.
Huh?
He didn't say, thank you all so much. You're doing such a great job today. I'm thrilled to be here.
I can promise you.
He wasn't being a Chick-fil-A employee.
No, he wasn't being a Chick-fil-A employee. Dadgummit.
Yeah, there's no shot at that. But I will say this. There's a couple things. One, Hurley can't do that.
No.
Two, I don't love that the official decided at that point of the game to call the technical. Like, I am sure that Danny said something prior to 2.5 minutes left to go in a game that warranted a technical foul. Yes. And coming into the season, bench decorum was one of the points of emphasis for officials. A lot of that had to do with Danny. So, like, you have to make sure that, one, Danny can't put himself in that position at the end of the game. Two, I don't love that the ref took it upon himself. That did change. That did alter the course of the game. That ref should have called a technical earlier in the game, and then you could have found a way to, that would have still given him a chance. But it altered the course of the game at that point. There wasn't enough time to really make up and regain your momentum.
All right. So there's a couple of angles that I take on this whole topic. Number one, there's a lot of people on Twitter and stuff who are complaining about the Big East officials. The Big East officials end up officiating in the Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four, National Championship game. The Big East has an alliance with the ACC. Terrence, you don't need me to tell you about ACC officiating.
Mm-hmm.
There's an integrity factor there. Folks, if you think there's a conference that wants to invest in their basketball officials, it's a conference that solely has basketball as its main sport. They cannot screw it up. Okay, so that's number one on the point of, is there an officiating problem? Number two, I'm sorry, folks, but to those people who are really upset when their team doesn't get a call and they're the road team, did you just wake up and start watching sports? Did you just wake up and start watching sports? Have you not lived to see the NFL, the NBA, and Major League Baseball, and everything else under the sun, to understand the fact that there are things that get called that the home team benefits off of and that the road team does not? There are calls that are made in a game that you would say, if it was the other way around, that call probably isn't getting made. Okay? Number two. Number three, are any of us arguing that UConn wins the game yesterday if the game gets officiated differently? I don't think so. I thought Xavier outplayed Connecticut and did enough to win the game. At the end of the day, it was a difficult call for the official to make. I would have to say the official did not take a lot of pleasure in having to do that, because I guarantee you he's getting multiple phone calls the moment he steps off the court from people saying, this better have been justified. Was it justified? All that. These officials, you don't see it, folks, but they are constantly under the radar gun.
Yep.
They are. They're under the spotlight. Technical fouls are given not for one-offs. Technical fouls are given because if you tell Timmy to stop, that's strike one. If you tell Timmy to stop again, that's strike two. And if you tell Timmy to stop, sometimes refs give out 3, 4, 5, 6 strikes in a game. At a certain point, an official says, you know what? Forget it. I've told you. That's not just Dan Hurley. Yep. It's a bunch of coaches. Absolutely. The point is, he can't get a technical foul in that spot for his guys. He absolutely knows that. Dan Hurley has done one of the best coaching jobs in America this season.
Yep.
He could be argued as National Coach of the Year. You can't get teed up in that spot. The refs know it's a difficult call to make. Let it be served as the lesson that it is. You try to learn from it, and it's water under a bridge.